Excellent. Okay, so as I was saying, we're going to record tonight's meeting. I'm calling to order the regular meeting of the Fair Trade Point Beach Working Group of the Parks and Rec Commission. It is 6:40. First, I just want to welcome Chairman Lori Boer of the Parks and Rec Commission. Thank you for joining our discussion tonight, and I'm really excited to have your input. Cheryl and Janet, do you guys also want to turn on your, could you turn on your videos? Thank you. Love seeing you, everybody. So thank you. And Adele, thank you for joining us as well. And I see Randy and Pam, Gary, and thank you for joining too. So for the first agenda item, I actually want to make a motion to change the order of the agenda. I was overly ambitious in setting out the agenda, so I wanted to put number 4, which is talking about the survey, as our first order of business. Did I get a second for the motion?
I'll second it.
Perfect, excellent, thank you. Do I need a vote, or is this?
Let's do it. Just
Let's do a vote. Okay, vote to change the order of the meeting. So
I'll vote for it.
yes, okay, Janine, Sandy, Cheryl, and Janet.
So unanimous.
So unanimous. Excellent. Thank you, everybody. So before we go through the survey, I just wanted to provide a little bit of context.
Survey that.
Yes. So in an ideal world, and I appreciate that hindsight's 2020, the survey would have been done before the RFP, and doing one after a project's underway is certainly complicated, but given the world has changed substantially over the past 2 years, I think that those complexities are not insurmountable. Given the project is underway, and there are a lot of factors in the project, I focused this survey on wants and needs, priorities and preferences, rather than making it a, would you like version A or B? Because I think that the technical regulatory cost and other issues associated with choosing A or B make it very complicated to survey that. But I think given that an architecture form follows function, that we can certainly learn a lot through a survey. So what I want to do tonight is go through the survey and get everybody's feedback on what we as a working group would like to understand. And then at our next meeting, we can talk about how to operationalize this. So survey work is always iterative. I took a stab at it. I have no pride of ownership. And would love to just go question by question, and to the extent that people have comments, would love to hear them. So with that, any questions on sort of the context behind the survey?
Nope.
No. Okay, so let's just start, and we're gonna have fun. Question number 1, and I guess I'll just say a couple of people have already provided feedback, so I want to say thank you, and I tried to incorporate that into this. So question number 1, any comments?
Yeah, and I'll just
Yes,
say one of my
yes, please.
feedbacks that I provided is that I didn't think it should be done by voter district, because sometimes people don't even know what district they're in often. And so I thought that that was confusing. I also would ask the question, is this a general question that's included in these types of first surveys, that a neighborhood, getting a feel for where they are in a neighborhood in a town, is that?
So I think the reason to include this is, with all surveys, you want it to be statistically significant. So you get enough people back that you can make conclusions about the population you're surveying, but you also want to know that it's representative of the sample or representative of the population. And so, for example, in the master park survey, they asked voter districts to make sure it represented people in all the districts in rough proportions. So what these demographic questions allow you to do is weight the data on the back end to make sure that if, for example, only people in the Oxridge district replied, we might want to say, is this survey accurate of representative of everybody in Darien? So that's sort of the purpose of including.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
So what if it's not representative? Do we toss the whole thing out?
No, we don't toss the whole thing out.
I mean, I just don't, and first off, I have no idea. I don't have kids that go to school, so I wouldn't know how to answer that first question.
You would,
So-
okay, so let's, so what I would say on this one is, especially if we work with an outside firm, there are lots of ways to handle it. I'll get to you in 1 second, Cheryl. In the Master Park survey, they did it based on voting districts.
Mhm.
And so we can certainly resort to that in that there's precedent that it's been done. We could also decide that we don't care that it's representative of all the neighborhoods, but I think that would be a mistake. And Janine, to your question, the sample will not necessarily be representative of Darien, but part of survey work is on the back end, adjusting and weighting the data so that it is representative.
I guess my overall question on the survey is because, in the last survey, you ask all these questions. How long have you lived here? Do you rent a home? Do you belong to a club? How many children? What's your age? And so what are you trying to get at when you break out the final data of, people want a snack bar or don't want a snack bar? Are you really crawling back through it and saying, oh, look, it's only people with 2 kids that live in this district that don't own a home? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many questions trying to figure out. I don't know how it's relating back to really when we get data, like in the last survey, I didn't see it broken out into all these different things. So I'm confused. It's more like, to me, what's the most important is, do you use the beach? Or would you use the beach? Like, is that the target audience we want to reach, or people who use the beach? And it really doesn't matter if they're 85, 5, 20, whether they live north, south. Like, I don't really get what we do with this in the end when we sort the data.
So the short answer is we might not do anything if the people who respond to the survey are really representative of people in town. But I think it's just standard practice to have a sense of the demographic profile of the respondents. So you can compare that to what you know about people in town. And as a working group, we might decide that what we really care about are heavy users of Pear Tree Point Beach. And we don't care how long they've lived in town. We don't care if they own a home. But it's better to collect the easy data up front, and then it can get adjusted if the aggregate isn't representative of town.
Yeah.
We might see differences by neighborhoods. For instance, people in the Hinley neighborhood, those of us who can walk down there might respond in a different way than somebody who lives way almost to the New Canaan border, where for them going to the beach, it's still 20 minutes in the car each way. And it just might affect how they use the beach. Is parking an issue? Well, someone who lives on Rings End Road, they're probably, do I have parking now? Because I always walk. Things like that. So it does give you a little bit of information and context of the users, and certainly the age, and whether people have children or not have children.
Yeah.
Okay.
And often if data is presented in an aggregate way, if somebody's
Yeah.
got it and realized that the segmentations aren't significant, and if they are, they should always be noted. Cheryl, we missed one of your questions.
I understand everything that you said, Kara and Janine, and I personally, sending this out to every household in Darien, I don't think, because people don't have children in the school system, I have grandchildren, but I don't think question 1 is relevant to the issues here. I don't think it makes a difference on where you live, what school district you're in. I do like the question number 2, how long have you lived in Darien? Because I think that is relevant. If you're here less than a year, or if you're here more than 15 years, I think you can do it out. Do you live in Darien less than a year, 10, 15, 10, 20, 30 or more? Clean it up a little bit. But I don't think number 1 is really relevant. It doesn't matter what school district you're in, because I'd have to go to the neighbor next door and find out if I'm on Tokenique or Henley.
Well, I suggested the
back-
school district
that's
because
back to the-
Carr had it broken up by neighborhoods, and the way it was broken up, I was like, my street doesn't even fall into these neighborhoods. So that was my suggestion, just thinking this is a clean way because every street is sort of, goes to school. Forgive me, I assume that people pretty much would know what school, what school children in their neighborhood went to. So,
Right, or then we can reflect back.
or you can look up your
Reflect back
tax
to
card
the
and you can
voting
find it in about
district.
30 seconds. It'll tell you. We can refer back to voting district. In fact, more people might say, like, if I had off the top of my head doing a survey, so what voting district you're in, I would be like, whatever. Where, I know what school district
So if
my
we
street
end up
falls
working
into. So I
with
I assumed incorrectly that people would automatically just know what school district their school.
Well, I live very close to Henley, and yet the children across the street and on the corner go to Tokenique, and that's all the way across town. So when I first moved to this house, I thought I was in the Henley School District. So, I mean, well, we can revisit that. Let's move on.
That's fine. I just have one more question. Why do we even have the option of, why are people taking the survey if they don't live in Darien? Like, why it says the different schools and then I don't live in Darien? Like, are we giving this to people who don't live in Darien?
So we can, in the next meeting, we can talk about who we want to answer the survey. My recommendation would be that we distribute the survey as widely as possible, because the active participation, I think, is part of what we want to achieve. If we distribute a link widely, then there's the option that somebody doesn't live in Darien, and we can decide if we want to include that data or not include that data. So if we distribute the links widely, then we need to make sure that we're fully comprehensive in the answers.
Okay. All right. I sorry, I just didn't understand why we would use data from someone who didn't live in the town.
Well, we would then toss. them.
Eliminate them? Okay, that's fine.
All
All right.
Eliminate them if we don't know, and so if the survey, if the link is widely distributed and includes somebody who doesn't live in Darien, then
Okay.
the answer for that question, and we need a way to exclude the data or decide we want to include the data.
Okay.
This is what I would recommend. I think that the upfront demographics are intended to be very basic questions that shouldn't take a user a lot of time. We've realized number one is going to trip people up because it trips all of us up, and we can clean those up. But the intention is to be able to segment the data and make sure that the survey respondents are representative of town. So that's the goal. So I would say, could we go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Those were all intended to be basic demographics. Can we move on from those and move to 7, please?
Can I just one more
Yes,
possible addition? Should
Yep.
we ask
Yes.
whether people live in a single family or a multi-family home? Because I think that is going to really start impacting usage.
You
I don't
want
know
to
if it
differentiate
makes sense.
between owning a home? Renting?
No, that's not what I was suggesting. I was suggesting in addition to that, you could argue the way we need to know rent or own. I was suggesting whether you would ask whether somebody lives in a single family home or an apartment, effectively. Because my belief is, as more of these apartments come online, we get people who don't have backyards. And it's going to impact the usage of all of our parks, so.
How about we ask, do you have a backyard? Does that, or do you live in an apartment without an apartment? I think multifamily has I'm not sure, a connotation. I think
It's pretty standard. word.
it is
The
standard.
industry, Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty much for, yeah, home family.
So, excuse me, I couldn't hear exactly what Lori said. I'm sorry.
It was a suggestion that we ask if people live in a single family home or a multifamily dwelling. Let's do this. I'd love to hear everybody's feedback. So I think that's a good one. Let's add it. We can,
Multi-family dwelling.
Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
building, like Avalon, like this very large complex.
or
that's
just
going
say,
up on
or
Heights
just
Road.
say an apartment. I think, Right, what Lori, I don't know if you heard it, Cheryl, what Lori was trying to drive at is, the concern about the 350 to 400 new units that will be coming online in town within, the next 2 to 3 years. And, a large majority of those apartments are not going to have outside areas, like Avalon has a pool. But
Kansas has a-
and Kensington has a pool, but the Federal Realty will not have that area. So that was just kind of getting a feel to help anticipate, they'll be looking for more outside space, so to speak.
Right,
We'll be
but
using-
I think by asking,
The word maybe, I think we're getting semantics on the multi, I understand what you're saying, but that's.
multifamily dwellings, does that include an apartment in Palmer's when they
Yes.
build?
Yes.
That would be multifamily.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So you don't think by asking if you rent or you own is equivalent to that? Multifamily.
No, well, because David Genovese's thing over near Highland Avenue, that's multifamily, but it's a condo, or the ones across from Goodwives are condo. We have a lot of condos in town that are multifamily developments.
When is this survey going out and when are these people going to be here? Because the survey is going to go out before any of these people are in these apartments.
great
Yeah.
point, Sandy.
Yep.
Excellent point.
But there's other existing condos in town already that some, I believe, are owned versus rented. Right? So I'm not saying we even need this question, but I'm saying if we want to do the question, there will be a demographics of people that will answer yes, I think. Even at the time that the survey is going out.
Right.
This also concerns if you rent.
Well, add residences at Selleck Woods, those
Yeah.
are considered multifamily.
Yeah.
If my dad was still alive, he would be answering,
Yeah.
living at Atria,
Yeah.
it'd be multifamily.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think some people think multifamily means multiple families living within one apartment?
I don't think so, but
Yeah.
I'm a banker and
Yeah.
just when you lend against multifamily,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
everybody knows
That's
it's a
the
building
word.
with
That's
multiple
right.
apartments, but
Yeah.
So-
we can.
Let's
Okay.
nuance
Okay.
the wording of the question, but incorporate, I think tonight, if we can get through the topics that we want to ask, and we can refine the wording in subsequent iterations.
I agree with adding in some.
Yes,
aspect
I
of
would
that.
agree as well. That's what yes. Okay, so let's go to the next one. 7, 8, and 9 are focused on frequency of use. Any comments on 7, 8, or 9?
Maybe my only question was, Memorial Day through Labor Day. That's our core use. Are we open with the security through the end of September? Like September 30th or October 1st,
Well,
right?
Pear Tree
Pear
is through
Tree?
Labor Day.
It is through Labor Day. Okay, the other
Halloween
one
is
is,
longer.
okay, then keep that at Labor Day. Thanks for confirming that word.
Okay, any other comments on 7, 8, or 9? Okay, question 10, I like a mix of open-ended and non-open-ended questions. Are people good with question 10?
I feel like there would be a lot of data to sort through with that. Is it possible to have some choices and then fill in something else? I mean, I'm just looking for ease of understanding the data when you get it.
Janine, that's a great point. So on that, let's just make as a follow-up that if we can all think about the choices we would like to have for item number 10, we can do that.
Okay.
And do we want to do choices, the circles, but still leave a box?
For other.
Yeah.
Okay, for
So we
other.
get both. Yeah,
Okay.
good point. Good point that, yes, it will. Okay, 11. Any comments?
I'm wondering if you want to add eat a meal. I mean, since a big part of this discussion is concession stand, I don't know, I'm just curious if you want to ask that.
For the picnic?
Doesn't have to. I was just throwing it out there because I think a lot of this is centering around concession stand.
I think we get to that later in the survey.
Okay, that's fine.
I have no issue adding it. I think to Lori's point,
Yeah.
picnic to me implied a meal, but,
Yeah.
but I think the spirit
Okay.
should be comprehensive, and if people, and I think we're already appreciating that among us, we interpret any question differently, so I think.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not married to it. I was just didn't know if it made sense to do it or not.
Fair enough, yep. Carol? Yes.
On that, swim in the sound, it would be interesting to know if people use that at high tide or low tide. A lot of people come down with little children at low tide. A lot of people come at high tide with older children so they can swim off the beach and not walk through the rocks. But I'm just wondering if we should swim in the sound and then say high tide, low tide. Or can we put that in someplace else?
Yep, and are you after if they swim at high or low tide, or would you want a question under frequency of use? Do people go to the beach at high or low tide? So is it about swimming, or is it about when they choose to come to the beach?
Are you on
Yeah,
10?
I think sometimes parents might bring little kids during low tide not to swim,
Yeah, they play in the mud.
right?
So I think,
Pam's asking, she must not have a question, she's asking if you could read the questions as we talk.
could I read the questions as we talk about?
Pam must not have them.
Yes, I can read the questions. Yes, okay. So 11, now I'm going to read the questions for Pam and Randy, as best I can here. Is everybody okay if we move to 12?
Yes.
Okay. Number 12, how satisfied are you with each of the following aspects of the current facilities at Pear Tree Point Beach? And it's a 5-point rating scale, not at all satisfied to very satisfied. And then the aspects are bathrooms, snack bar, landscaping, picnic area, parking, maintenance. And this is a small thing, but standard in an online administered survey is to randomize the order that not the scale is rated, but the features are rated, so there's no primacy bias, but that's just FYI. Are there any comments on number 12?
I like the drop down menus. I like the breakout.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I like hearing nice things. Anything else?
Well, for me, I wouldn't be able to answer, like, for snack bar, how satisfied am I with it? If you don't use it, how do you answer it? So I'm curious if we could do something like, how satisfied are you with each of the following facilities that you use, or current facilities that you use at Pear Tree Point Beach? And then have one more bubble that says like not apply or don't use, or
Just add a not applicable at the end.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problem at all.
Yep, good point.
Yep. Any other questions on 12 or comments?
No, I would just say, I was asking, is this the standard? Basically, what at first I was thinking is 5 too many, because it's not satisfied, not at all satisfied, not satisfied, neutral, satisfied, very satisfied. Is 5 the standard? And then doing research, I found out that basically 5 is the standard. So then I'm done with it.
Yeah, good. Okay. Question 13, if you indicated that you are unsatisfied with all or part of the facilities at Pear Tree Point Beach, please share why and how we could improve the facilities.
This one might be where we want to bring it back to choices again.
Except that I like the open aspect, because I feel like we've already asked a lot of questions. And so this might give, we might be saying, I hear what you're saying, but
What's it like for the bathrooms?
yeah.
What is it about the bathroom you like or dislike, or what makes you resistant to using it or not liking it?
And you don't think they would say because? No.
Well, but in a way that we could somehow statistically, a reasonable determination of what is it we could improve in the bathroom. That would satisfy.
And are the bathrooms ever not open during open beach hours?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
Because one has been locked out when she really would have liked to use them.
Queue up question 14. Let me just go back to
Friday
Vince's
nights.
comment on 13.
After hours.
Exactly. The survey could be programmed so that we ask 13 only of people who indicate that they're not satisfied or not at all satisfied. And it could be programmed, you indicated you are not satisfied with the bathrooms. And then we could have a drop down. I like for things, if somebody's not happy, being able to have an open-ended, because otherwise sometimes they get frustrated, they might pick something. I just think we get more information, it puts more
Mhm.
onus on
You like the open-ended.
I do, it's more work to code it, but it's, I think, meaningful to hear what people say. But we can certainly consider choices on this. Any other comments on 13?
So go to 14?
Yes,
So
14.
I
queue
would
up
have
bathrooms.
had right there, in my notes, I said, are the bathrooms open when you seek to use them? And I think we need to put during Memorial Day through Labor Day. Because we're talking about Pear Tree Point, because otherwise, I'm down there yesterday, the bathrooms aren't gonna be open, the porta potty might be, or whatever's there, but they're gonna be locked up. So let's keep the reference during the time period we're talking about that we know they're gonna be open to.
Excellent point. Okay. Any other questions on 14?
But the bathrooms are open until October. We've left the bathrooms at Pear Tree open through September.
Through September
So,
30th?
what?
What, is it through the, like October 1st? Cheryl,
Lori, what was it this year?
Pam, I'm sorry.
Pam?
Yeah,
I think we had them in the middle of October. And
They,
people
sorry.
wanted. Go ahead, Pam.
Okay, I'm not turning my video on. I'm at home sick today, so I'm just keeping my video off. But the bathrooms typically in the past had been closed by the boat club at night. And that's why we were able to leave the bathrooms open later in the season. When there was changing of hands, that agreement or that partnership fell apart and they weren't able to close them up for us anymore. So we leave them open for a little bit unattended and unlocked overnight for about a month or so into the fall. And then we close them up and put a portable toilet out there for the rest of the winter.
What about in the summer?
thank you.
In the summer, our guards lock them up at the end of their shift,
Which is what time?
which is like, well, it changed from 9 o'clock to 8 o'clock.
Every night?
Yes. And we did ask at one point I think we're going to be trying to get the boat club to help us out again in the future. But yes, we've been working things out differently in the last couple of years.
Good luck with
Good
that.
luck with that.
Yeah, because I mean, eight
They
o'clock
have a lot
on,
to do. Yeah,
8 o'clock on a Friday and Saturday, and
Eight's
possibly
early.
Sunday night is early.
It's
So
Eight's
of course,
early,
that may be
yeah.
something we need to think
Eight's
about,
early.
which is really outside.
do you have the opportunity to go back and revisit that?
I don't know. Be a budget issue.
Because it was a,
Unless the
security
police-
thing.
Unless the police
Okay.
can lock them up.
So
Let's
is our
work to
real
get the data.
emphasis? Yeah,
Right, if we want
Right.
to
Yeah.
extend the hours, this data
will
would be
helpful.
really helpful.
Right. The real emphasis to find out if there's been an issue of them being locked during when they should have been opened, or just we'd like to see it extended. Or combination of both.
Combination of both.
Okay.
Totally. We know.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to 15.
I have a
Oh,
question.
sorry.
I have a question though. I mean, this is about, say if you're a picnic going on and you go beyond 9 o'clock, what's your status there? Are you being taken out by the guard, or
Nope, the guard just leaves.
the guard just leaves and you can keep on partying?
At some point, the
and socializing,
police,
whatever.
at some point, the police come and lock the gate. But Pear Tree people can still, I mean, they can basically walk in 24 hours because they got the little path where that
That's
bench
right,
is,
yeah, right.
a boat ramp, but the police do come and close the gate at some point.
What point do they do that?
They close the gate at 10 o'clock at night.
Right.
Well, that's when they close, they more tend to clear out.
Uh-huh.
Maybe we could reword this to say, would you prefer the bathrooms be open later in the evening on weekends and into the fall? And ask the question, and it's a yes or no answer, and then we could go.
Everybody's gonna say yes. Who wouldn't say yes?
Well, I mean, yeah, I know, but I mean, it is, if you rent and if you rent the picnic grove out to people and they're having a party down there, like Vince just said, and then you turn around and you close the bathrooms, and they paid to use the picnic area till 9 o'clock, and now the bathroom's closed. So you're asking for them to participate in our revenue, and then you're not providing a bathroom for them. And this, I'm just talking between May and October or September. So I think maybe we better revisit this, and I hope Pam can do that with the boat club and see if we can come up with some sort of.
And maybe, maybe if you don't mind, if you could check in tomorrow or the next day on, I don't have a clear view of how often people have actually rented that picnic area during the summer. If we have historical numbers on that, and is it more during the morning, the afternoon, or the evening? And to Cheryl's point, if it's the evening, when is it rented till? Because on a full, if somebody's planning something on a full moon and they're planning to be there till 9 and everything's shutting down at 8, I get that. And then maybe we should also be thinking about that and altering when we're allowing them to kind of pay their money until, it should be 5 to 8 or 6 to 8 instead of 6 to 9. Just something to think about. But if you have any historical numbers on that would help us frame that question. Thank you, Cheryl. That's
Either
good.
that or the guard's gotta walk over 15 minutes and ring a bell saying, just like last call at the bar. 15 minutes, last call for the bathrooms.
Fair enough.
Just for your information, when those applications are submitted to our department, all those questions are asked. So if there were to be a lap time in terms of the bathroom being closed, the parties would understand that and they would know. But that picnic area is rented often throughout that season.
Are they usually late or into the evening? That's my real question. I think.
I can get you that information, but I would hate to just make a wild guess right now. I just know that there's lots of applications that come in for both picnic areas at both beaches.
All right, thanks.
Excellent, okay.
I'm just curious what the plan was going to be if you built this whole new building with, this area for the community that people were going to watch sunsets on and everything. Were we still shutting down the bathrooms? Like, why do we shut down the bathrooms? And were they going to be shut down for that as well? Just throwing it out there. I'm just curious if the plan is to shut bathrooms when the guard leaves. Okay.
So maybe outside of the scope of tonight's conversation. but
Yeah.
Janine, for sure. Okay, so let's just move on to question 15. How do you find the quality of the sand at Pear Tree? Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay. 16, again, a pretty standard, asking how important the following facilities at Pear Tree Point Beach to you are. Oops, there's a type. Or how important are, no, there's no type. Okay, and then it's the same thing: bathroom, snack bar, landscaping, picnic area, boat ramp, and parking on a 5-point scale. Any comments?
I like that because it's going to be interesting to see. My gut feeling is bathrooms is going to be a pretty high number, right? Because that's what we seem to hear the most feedback on over the last few years, you know, can
Yeah.
you? So, and then I'll be interested to see where the other part breaks up. Maybe I'm
too.
wrong, but that's my, if I was a betting girl, I'd say that would be at the top, but we'll see.
Yes, we could get a surprise too. So, okay, so moving on to 17.
Wait, Cara, sorry, just on this question again, I was wondering, I know we have opportunities later in the survey where, people can, provide more, provide more open, ended feedback, but on this particular question, do you think it would be good to ask at the end, whether or not, if there's any other facilities that's not currently offered, that could be important to someone?
Yeah, that's fair. And I think I like that a lot, Janet, because I think in a survey, you want to ask about the same subject in a couple of ways. And so I like adding, are there any other facilities? Yeah, I get the gist.
Or amenities?
Facilities or amenities that don't.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, amenities, just because it's not currently there, you know, I'm curious if anyone has always dreamed about something.
Yeah, that's a great question to ask.
Yeah, excellent.
And then
Yeah.
are we doing the box so they can fill it in?
Yeah.
We're not gonna tell them what we think their
No.
guess is, right?
Maybe
You're just
something.
leaving it open.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
Good.
Yep, okay, great point. And I like that right after 16. 17, the snack bar at Pear Tree Quick Beach generates minimal sales and we'd like to understand why. Which of the following statements best describes a snack diner picnic at Pear Tree Point Beach? Please check all that apply.
So I
yes, ma'am.
recommend,
Yeah.
the thing that's missing here, I think, is you need to add a box that says, I use the snack bar.
Yes,
And maybe I use the snack bar and am satisfied with the menu/service. Or maybe just I use the snack bar.
I was thinking maybe we should, like, before this, say, how often do you use the snack bar? And then if never, then answer question 17 as to why, or how you do dine instead. Curious if there are people are there some people that go there every day and use a snack bar? You
Well,
know?
total revenue, so we know
We
that.
do have $5 days, so.
Right. So, but there are,
And what did they order? I want to know. Hence the ice cream truck.
so, but I appreciate the point, and I think it's a good one, that before we do 17, we can ask this respondent, did you use the snack bar at Pear Tree Point Beach? And okay. 18, if we were to change the snack bar at Pear Tree Point Beach, which of the following would you use if offered? Please select all that apply. Are there any additions or subtractions people would like to see to that?
Just notice it says weekend food trucks during the day, okay. Yeah, I was thinking that I might bring it.
And you
What if
have an
you're-
ice cream machine, but I think we should have a box for an ice cream truck, because I mean, Cheryl, you saw how many people really use that ice cream truck over the last 2 years with the pandemic. So just a consideration. If we're asking about food trucks, ice cream is not, it's a little different, so I think of food as like, I'm gonna get my burger or my hot dog. And so I think the ice cream truck also kind of opens it up, you know, more parents and grandparents will respond to that.
Should we say, should we say instead of change the snack bar, say if we were to explore other food options? Because it's not really changing the snack bar, all those
Yes.
options.
Yes,
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yes.
if we were to
I-
explore
I had
other
a problem
options.
with that also.
Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't seem to.
Can I back up to 17?
Yes, please.
I order food through Uber Eats and other delivery services. Nobody's gonna do that at Pear Tree. would they?
Oh, they do it.
All the time.
Constantly.
While they're at work, they have a truck
Constantly.
and the car comes.
Oh,
and-
yes. Constantly.
I did not know. I'm so old school. Okay, I'm old school.
Pizza at the beach for 30 years. It's like-
Somebody comes and delivers,
Oh, it's constant.
All the
It's
time.
constant.
Chipotle.
I say constant, it's off, it's off.
Yes,
It's a-
it's
primary.
It's on speed dial of
It's a
every
regular.
teenager, lots of boat people, parents that want to have food come down, healthy
well,
food.
that's what's killing
so-
our snack bar.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the pizza before all this Uber Eats stuff, I mean, the pizza delivery, I mean, I did that when my kids were little, I arranged them, so I mean, I've been with them for a million years.
Oh,
so-
good point, way before even Uber
Yeah,
Eats,
but
you're
it's
saying.
like for
Yeah,
Uber Eats, so now
yeah.
it just expands people's.
palate.
Ah, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's.
See,
I did
look
not
at
know
all
that.
these things you're learning in the program. 19. Okay, okay, any other comments through 18? 19, given the usage of the snack bar at Pear Tree Point Beach has been minimal, how would you feel about the removal of the snack bar at Pear Tree Point Beach? Disappointed, not sure, comfortable.
I mean, somebody might say something to the effect of, tell me an alternative before I answer, like.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the alternative is above.
A lot more info, but
Pardon? No, I know, I'm just saying that, I'm not saying we should use it, I'm just saying that that is something that.
How they answer might depend on whether we are going off to something else, an alternative, whether there be food trucks or vending machines.
oh, okay, yeah.
But so how's that, yeah, that vendor, that Uber Eats get through the guard?
Smuggling in like 4 of those
Huh?
children in, so without.
But with Uber Eats, have you ever used it?
No, I,
Okay, there you go. So I'll have you over one. You can order Uber Eats, but you, they text you and sometimes they'll say like, we're right outside. They might say we're
Oh,
out on
yeah.
the road.
The
Yeah,
pizza
yeah,
trucks,
yeah,
the pizza trucks that,
Yeah,
I mean, that let in. at
I mean,
beaches
I use
forever.
Uber.
Yeah.
I don't know
And
Uber
you're in
Eats.
and out, you're in and out. It would be like if you're
Yeah.
taking a taxi to the
Yeah,
beach for some reason.
Yeah, right, but I mean, like the Heights pizza trucks, I mean, they've always let them in. The guy's like, hey, I'm just delivering pizza, and they got the thing on the roof and.
Uh-huh. Oh, they do, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, is everybody good on 19?
Well, I kind of missed after all that, what you decided on 19, because I don't like the answer, not sure, want more information. I would want it to say comfortable, but I want another option or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not sure what that means. I don't know.
Share your wording one more time.
I'm not sure what my wording is, but I think there should be an option similar to like comfortable / if there's an alternative provided, or, you know, like there's a snack machine or there's a food truck or there's, I don't know, because I don't know if people are going to check, not sure. I don't know. It's just kind of,
Isn't that?
don't know
doesn't
if I love it.
I
well,
was thinking the same, oh, go ahead.
it relates to the question above. Maybe we should turn the questions around and put, given the usage of the snack bar is minimal, how would you feel about the removal of the snack bar? Then that being 18 and then 19, if we were to explore other options for a snack bar at Pear Tree Point Beach, which of the following would you use? So that kind of follows up. Instead of 19, put 19 at 18 and 18 at 19. And then there's your options.
And also, don't forget, number 20 is also an open-ended question. So when I read 19, I thought if someone were to select not sure, then at least they have the opportunity to write down exactly what their feelings are about the snack bar in the very next question.
But 19 should have the open box. Is that what you
Yeah,
mean?
number
Instead of
20.
Instead of making it a 20 question, 19 should have the open box a little bit.
Yeah, you could combine 19 and 20 into one and just have one that's disappointed, second one comfortable, and third other, and you know what your further comments are. Maybe it's neither, maybe they would use it, but they would like to improve upon it or something.
Yeah, I think that's good. Yeah, Janet.
Agreed. Thank you. Okay, so any other comments on the snack bar section, which is the questions through 20? Okay, excellent. 21, what has been your experience with parking at Pear Tree Point Beach? I've always found a spot. I found a spot, but the lot's nearly full during peak times. I've not always found a parking spot. I can find a spot, but not near the boat ramp or the boat club. Other.
Sandy, I threw out the suggestion of the can't find a spot near the boat ramp or the boat club, you know, with you in mind and a lot of other people who launched their boat. And so if you have to park, I mean, sometimes if you're carrying all your stuff, whether you have a boat on a slip, on a mooring, or you're launching your boat, if you're having to park your car really farther away, it's pretty hard. And so sometimes somebody might say, oh yeah, there's a parking spot, but it's all the way over on the other side of the beach. So also for the people who do kayaks, you know, I think we have like 60 kayak racks now at Pear Tree Point. So the kayaks, you're still bringing stuff there, or if you're bringing, you know, carrying your paddle board there.
Yeah,
Never heard of
your
that.
parking is really limited for the boat,
Very
over
limited.
by the boat. Yeah, it's really limited. And if you, I mean, we have good guards now that don't let them extend it because they used to extend it, which really kills you if you're trying to drop a boat. Because you got to be able to go in between some of those cars to bring your boat around so that you're able to back it down the ramp. So unless they watch that, which they do, they're very good now.
But I think that's important because I know on the, you know, the original one design at one point, there was talk about should we take out some of the parking at Pear Tree Beach and put some pavers and some trees in that area just to break it up and it look nicer. And I think a lot of people who have boats or have, you know, kayaks or paddleball, you know what I mean, paddle boards or anything like that, or boat club people will say, no, please don't take away any of the parking over there.
Yep.
So that's why I recommended, I don't know what y'all think, but I thought it almost feels like 2 or 3 different lots sometimes during the day. It's that lot over by the boat club. It's the lots, Janet, where the moms back up, you know, and they'll back up their cars or their trucks to the beach and let their kids
the
out
narrow
and
beach.
still have the, you know, still have the back flipped up so they can access, especially if they have a little baby, right? Baby could be sleeping in the back of the, kind of the open trunk area while the little kids are right there. And then they have the other area more to the other side, Cheryl, kind of where you sit. And so that's kind of how I see when I'm down there, which is a lot. I see different, it's almost like different sections, pockets of parking, so to speak. So the rare person who might, I don't know, I think it's really busy on really busy days. And so I would not personally like to see any parking taken away, but that's my opinion. And anyways, that's why I asked that question. Thank you.
So, though, I'm gonna ask a follow-up question. Should we explicitly ask how they would feel about removing parking spots? What are people's perspective?
What did you want?
I'm afraid if you ask that without the exact plan for why, you're not going to get any.
Fine, okay, so so do we want to ask, or is that no longer a option on the table? Is that
What's the purpose of asking?
Well, so
I'd like to add parking, so.
I would too, but if one of the proposals was to remove parking, if that's still a part of a site design, do we need data on that, or do we feel like there's a full data set on
I
parking?
feel like that was way early on, where they had a feel for how the parking lot worked.
Okay,
Cheryl, do you have comments on that? You were on
Well,
the.
we still have that permit being looked at through the Army Corps of Engineers, and in that permit, Lori, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't that permit include the removal of 32, 33 back then parking spaces?
It's been so long, Cheryl, I don't remember off the top of my head.
I think it did because I think you were extending the West Beach by 5 feet. And you removed, you know,
Right.
a couple dozen parking spaces in order to preserve the West Beach and add 5 feet more of beach.
Right, and then they were also gonna extend the South Beach, front beach
Yeah.
also. And there, I believe that's still, well, who knows what's in the plan anymore, but I believe that that was the final count. 30-something parking spaces were to be removed, and I think it could still be up for discussion.
Well, I think if we're talking about 350 or 400 new units coming on town and more people coming in, I think it makes no sense to
Yeah,
reduce
yeah.
parking
I mean,
spots.
just with all these new units coming
Yep.
on now, that changes the landscape in just the last couple of years.
Yeah. Something to be considered again.
But somehow we have to fix the flooding down there, so you know, 6 in one, half a dozen in another.
I
Gotta
think
figure something out.
the bigger issue is at the very high tide, you completely lose the West Beach. It goes right up to the Belgian block. And the idea behind adding the 5 feet was that you still had beach at high tide. So I
Exactly.
think that was the trade-off of, are we preserving beach? So it's there at high tide. That was the, at least my understanding of watching the meetings, was why. And I think they put back the spaces along the South Beach, and it was really just the West Beach to combat the high level of the water where, you know, the beach disappears at high tide.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you were at the boat club lobster break.
Yeah.
It's September, but
Yeah.
I was parked along the wharf.
Yeah.
We were parked on the West Beach, and when we had to leave at 10:30, whatever,
Yeah.
my husband had to pull the car out because, you know, half of our car was in the water.
You didn't take you out and carry you?
No.
And then it receded.
This
So I
conversation,
think we should just leave that in for now. Maybe we can
yeah,
think
this
about it
conversation is
again.
bringing up another, an issue I just was pondering while we're going through this, with the quality of the sand. Really, it's probably in question 16. It's the beach. Do you want the beach bigger? Do you want it, instead of landscaping it, or as part of landscaping it, increase the beach? The idea of berms and stuff like that we were all considering, that was all being considered during the building committee phase previously, studying, putting in berms, they were studying increasing the beach, reducing the parking. How does that, I don't know. I think the general feeling is the more beach, the better. Was one of the feelings that I think the committee had years ago. I don't know how we put that question in there.
I think it's a great point. So I'm hearing two things. I'm hearing among this group, there's uncertainty about if the plan includes more beach and less parking or not. So if that's still there, I think it's something we should ask. I thought berms were out, but I think
They are out.
They are out. Okay, thank you, Cheryl.
Was that, Cheryl, was that out because the Pear Tree Beach Building Committee, after many discussions, decided it wasn't the way they wanted to go, or are they out because of D for Army Corps of Engineer or anything? Just, I can't
It
remember.
was out because there was so much pushback. We had the lady with the signs, we had all the moms who wanted back up to the beach and left their baby wrestlers, so people just.
Okay,
People like the tailgate.
And then we had all the beach haters who said, oh, those are the ugliest things we've ever seen, which I personally disagree with. I think they're gorgeous, but there were a lot of haters.
okay, so it wasn't, they weren't, we didn't get shut down by the Army Corps of Engineer or D. It was the stakeholders that came out and gave their feedback.
I believe so.
Thank you.
Okay,
I think it was real pushback from the elderly who wanted to sit in their cars and be able to see the beach. I mean, that was the real reason. We had a lot of people, elderly people, who wanted that. And I think the committee went along with that.
Okay.
Janine, you've got incredible recall, and I do remember that too, that there were a lot of seniors who said they like in the off season to drive right up, and not head out, and they don't want their view obscured by
Yeah.
that. Okay, but I guess, I think to Vinnie's point, if there's site work that's still being considered, or there's optionality, we should include questions better. Okay,
I mean, sound waters. Thing is,
Yeah, that's my thing, yeah.
they're putting, oh, it's my husband's, they're putting in berms and they model them after the beach.
Yeah, no, I was just asking like, how big is the berm? And I totally respect folks driving up to watch the sunset or the sunrise, because I do that a lot. I was just trying to figure out, is there a different level of berms? But moving on.
yeah, let's
Thank you
move
for
on.
the feedback, appreciate it.
Okay,
Everybody.
so 21, so then the next set of questions about voting 22 through 24. Are there any comments? Especially Sandy, anything else you think would be helpful?
Looks good to me.
Okay, 25, that was on the master plan survey. 26. As you think about a renovation or rebuild of the bathhouse at Pear Tree Point Beach, how important are the following features to you? Aesthetic, bathroom, shower, snack bar, indoor community space, outdoor gathering space, shade, structure. Anybody have any comments?
So my comment, that I wrote here was under shade structure, e.g. pergola. I didn't know if structure kind of sounds like building. And so, were we really,
Yeah,
whoever suggested the question, were we really trying to get to, I don't know, shade as in more trees, Cheryl, or shade as in umbrellas? That kind of thing. So open for everybody else's feedback. That was my question on that. The other ones I was good with.
Fair enough, maybe just have it say shade. Any other comments?
I actually just want to go back to 25. I'm just curious why it does matter if people are a member of clubs, because I looked at the last survey and there were all kinds of clubs listed, including the Y and places in New Canaan and all things. What are we sorting the data on in terms of clubs? I mean, there's really only 2 clubs that have beach area. Are you looking to see if someone belongs to a club that has beach access, or a club for what?
So I guess I've heard that there's a perception that people who, and I don't belong to a club, that people who don't belong to a club might have different needs out or different desires for the town beach facilities than people who do have a club. And so this is a demographic sort that might not yield anything, and we might realize that people behave the same, whether or not they have a club, but that would be the hypothesis, or why we would.
Yeah, I get that. I'm just curious, is it really, are we looking to see if they belong to a beach club? Because like belonging to, I don't even know the clubs, to be honest, Woodway. I don't even really know where Woodway, whatever. So if you belong to that, how is your view on the beach different than someone that doesn't belong to Woodway? Like I'm just sorry, I'm just confused by it. I'm just asking, because I would think it's more that you're looking to see if they have another beach place, but most of the clubs don't. So I don't know. I'm just curious how you're sorting it. Like,
I think the hypothesis is someone, because you know how Woodway has a beach club in Stanford near like.
I don't
Stanford
really
Yacht.
know. Oh, it did.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Okay.
not a member, but I've
Me either,
heard
so,
that.
obviously.
So I think the hypothesis is that maybe, I don't know, like I think top of my head, I only know of 3 clubs that have beach access and sort of just beachfront dining options as part of their club. So then they may use the public beaches differently.
Correct. So no, I agree with that. So I'm just saying, like, do you really want to know if they belong to them, or if lots of people answer, yeah, I belong to, because I looked at the last survey and people checked yes and they belong to the Y, or they checked yes and they belong to the Italian Center in Stamford. And I'm just like, how is, like, when we get that answer, is that really, are we comparing what
Maybe
we're
that-
looking for.
Maybe the question, I don't know, Cara, if we want to include the question, maybe it can be expanded to say a club with beach access. I don't know.
I don't know.
I
I
don't
don't know.
think, I don't think it's relevant. I
Okay.
don't think we need to have that in there at all. What
Well,
difference
neither
does
do
it
I,
make?
but
If-
okay.
What difference does it make? I mean, I do think that if you are a member of the boat club, because then you will be accessing Pear Tree. If you're a member of Tokenique, what difference does it make? It's like the first.
Well, I think it makes a difference because if you're a member at Tokenique, you probably wouldn't use the public beach as much. And even when you're there, you don't use it the way that you would use Tokenique.
No, because Tokenique Club has tennis and has swim lessons and has a whole bunch of things for kids to do. Woodway has the Woodway Beach Club down in Stamford in the Chapin area.
I think even if your club, like when my kids were little, we belonged to Newfield. It didn't have a beach, but we were there all week long. And then on the weekends, we used the boat ramp. So, I mean, it does make a difference on how you behave.
I think it does make a difference.
Okay.
Yeah, and I also think we may want to parse the data to see if there's, meaningfully different, like people who don't belong in any of the club. Yeah, I use the beach 4 times a week versus people, yes, I belong to another club and I use it twice a summer.
Yes, yeah.
As a club member, I state that the beach is used often by, I'm saying Pear Tree or Wee Beach, public beaches, the Darien beaches are used often by club members. To the point where one club member was saying, how come our sand isn't as good as on Wee Beach?
I belong to Norotan, but if I want to go for a beach, if I want to go to the beach.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go to Wee.
Yeah.
Because Norotan's beach is about the width of this table. So it's like, what do I want my activity to be today? And it's informative. If I want a beach day.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to go to Norotan.
I think I think there's value in including this, to Lori's point, to be able to segment the data that might or might not yield
I'm just giving you
something.
a time at 7:40. I'm not sure how long you have the Zoom for.
Thank you. I
Oh.
paid to get the long version, but anyway, if this question were to offend anybody, then I would consider taking it out, but I don't think it's an offensive question to ask. Okay, can we move back to 26, because I really want to make sure we can get to 27 and 28. Any other questions on 26? Okay, number 27, as you know, I found this really challenging. I think it is hard to ask, do you want A or B or C? Because how Pear Tree Point evolves is really complex. The regulatory issues, unknown cost issues, technical issues. But I still think maybe we do a disservice not asking for some feedback, knowing that the data could be muddy. So with that caveat, I tried my best on 27, and I would love everybody's perspective, which could be reworded. I've heard some people say take it out. So I'm open to what people think about 27.
Well, I don't like it. So I don't know if it's reworded or take it out, but I think when you say the other option is to replace the existing building with a 2-story building that adds community room to the 2nd floor, upgrade the overall aesthetic and increase flood resiliency. I don't necessarily agree with that because you're not replacing the bathroom. People have to know it is the bathroom that's there, only 2/3 of the size. And the thing that's on the 2nd floor is the community room. All the other things remain on where they were, except for concession. So I just think that's not a clear description.
Okay, I would agree it's not a clear description. So, Vinny?
What I agree with this is that somehow we gotta tell the surveyors that there are limits. There are limits to what we can do. It appears the boat ramp is gonna cost a lot more than thought is gonna cost for the dredging and all that, and you put together a wish list, you can come together. I wanna emphasize that there are limits. I don't know how we word it, but that's, I think, primary purpose of this survey is to figure out, will you take A and not have B or something like that?
I think it's
Want
how
to
you
have
can
versus need to have,
want to have versus need to have, but
rooms are need to have. That's why it's gonna be interesting to see. I think that'll come out as a top number. And then we'll see how the concession stand comes out. And if it is a very high number, then that informs us.
correct, form follows function.
Yes.
So,
I mean, you might say though, do a simple renovation of the existing building parenthetically, which is in a flood zone. I mean, that's a fact, it's in a flood zone.
Right, that if you don't want the original building, you have to go to second story because of the rules.
Right.
so one option, I'm just gonna keep throwing out some other options. One option would be, we leave this question very open-ended and just say, as you might be aware, town has explored a couple of options for improving the building. Please provide any comments about your perspectives, and we don't get into the details, allowing people who know a lot of the details to share feedback. That would be one way to go.
And people who don't can explore,
Can
right?
provide
can-
their
But they
comments.
might
Can
or might
research it?
not. I
Yeah.
actually really like, with maybe a few
Okay.
functions, I like the way it's written, maybe instead of
Okay.
saying the other option, you just would say, not, the other makes it sound like it's a sentence.
Yeah.
number.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
so it could be another option,
another option,
Another option.
rather than the other. I like that.
another option.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I do think we have to inform people, you know, of some of the,
Cost factors, because
so
if you're
you're
just,
there are limitations.
yes, when you're looking at
Yes,
this,
there are.
you're like, yeah, upper deck, yeah, concession, yeah, wave it in, we have a baseball field too, like, woo-hoo, but again, this has to be approved by the Board of Selectmen, by the Board of Finance, by the RTM. We don't wanna do all this work and not get it through. So I'm back to the, need to have, wanna have, and what's the cost of getting it done, for getting it through and getting it done for the best that we can possibly do at this point, versus having rundown facilities. So,
I think in conjunction with the next question, number 29, where you're asking people to rate how interested they are on different improvements, I think maybe we can ask people to rank so we understand what, like, as a priority, with this list of wish list, ask people to rank how important it is to them on each of these things. And I think I agree with Lori that we definitely want to, for 28, or was that 27, for number 27, instead of, the other option, we say another option. But I think somewhere in here, we do need to explain to people the FEMA limitations and what it means to when you want to improve beyond a certain point, you have to go up. I don't think everybody knows that, or people understand that.
right, because on 28, we say, make the building FEMA compliant, but, again, they
Yeah,
don't.
what does that mean? Yeah, it's like
Right,
someone who doesn't know the details. I think at least that detail should, be in here in the survey itself, so people at least take that away.
But also understand that the bathroom's not FEMA compliant, just your new construction. Like, the plan never says to build a new bathroom. It's keeping it as is and not FEMA compliant. And so when you leave it open-ended, people are like, oh yeah, tear down the building, I want a new bathroom. But they don't understand, to Janet's point, oh, well, if you want to tear down the existing bathroom, your bathroom's now 17 feet up in the air.
Right, which is why.
So it's FEMA compliant. So
But
people,
just be very careful what we say. The
Right.
current bathroom is FEMA compliant because it's grandfathered, so we just have to be very, very careful.
but then so is the current concession stand.
Yes, it is.
Okay, but your sentence is saying then it will be, if we build new, it will be FEMA compliant.
No, to do a new building, we must build it and make it FEMA compliant.
But the option says, and make the building FEMA compliant. So you're right, it is FEMA compliant. Is that what you're saying my point in a different way?
Once.
It's worded like the current situation isn't FEMA compliant.
Then.
Oh, maybe it is. That first question, be reworded in a way that has the word resilience. All right. The town should invest in maintenance and adding to the resilience of the present building, the bathroom building, making it appealing. Versus going 2 stories. That's the point, I guess, is what we're gonna try to do here.
Should we just highlight what the FEMA compliance is that like what the regulation, in as succinct way as possible,
Yeah,
Sure.
Cheryl.
I reread our charge a couple of times today, and it's my understanding that the commission asked this committee to get together and the RTM members to get on this committee to do an approach for Pear Tree Point Beach, that we wanted to do a survey that was open to everybody, that showed what the people really want at the beach. If you're going to get into I disagree with 27. I should probably throw that right out. If you're going to get into build a 2-story building and people are coming out and going, what are they talking about? This is already 2 years past. The only people that really know what's going on are the people that were involved 2 years ago. And I don't think that this has anything to do with this survey. I think what we need to do on this survey is to find out how the people, our town taxpayers, feel about Pear Tree Point Beach as a whole. If you throw this into the mix here, you're going to create a whole 5 more pages of information. You're going to have to put out there the FEMA rules and regulations. You're going to have to put out all kinds of information that is irrelevant to our charge. And I don't think we really need to get into that aspect. What we need to know is, do people like the bathrooms? Do people like the beach? Do people use the beach? Do they like the boat club? Do they like the boat ramp? Do they like the parking? I mean, all our questions so far have been relative information that we need to put together to give back to the commission to say, this is what the taxpayers of the town want. If we're going to get into the whole minutia of that whole big building, you're going to have to explain it's going to go up 17 feet. The bathroom's going to be upstairs. Are we having an elevator? Are we not having an elevator? Are we having a ramp? Are we not having? I mean, this is way getting blown out of proportion. The next, wait a minute. The next thing on here really gives a little bit more insight. It fix the boat ramp for easy launch of boats. Okay, mitigate flooding of the parking lot. That's already being done. I don't think that needs to be in there because that's already up at the Army Corps of Engineers. Landscape with beach grasses and native perennials. Okay, let's see how people feel. The ADA accessible for the beach and picnic area. Yes, I agree with that. Provide more Adirondack chairs and beach umbrellas. And I think to that, and picnic tables. TABLES. Add an open air deck. Somebody's gonna look bathhouse for seat. Somebody's looking at that and go, what is that? So I think take out 27 altogether. It's irrelevant to our survey. And take out, add an open air deck at the front of the bathhouse for seating with views of the sound. Now, I'm not sure if we can build a deck, but we probably, and I'm sticking my neck out, put more concrete out there and widen the sidewalk going into where the concession stand and where the bathrooms are. And if we made that area in there for more picnic tables and that kind of thing. If that's what that means, fine. I would put it as concrete, not as a deck, because I think deck refers to wood. But that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, Cheryl, I concur with everything that you said. I actually had put delete 27 in my notes before this, but I wanted to be quiet and hear what everybody else said. But I too agree that it's away from what we're trying to do. We're trying to just gather this information about, as you said, so perfectly said, about the beach, the whole beach. And then with regards to, I agree with take out the mitigation on question number 29, take out the mitigation flooding of the parking lot with regrading. And then I like asking about more seating in the front. So if we could say without an open air deck, but we just put more seating in the front. Like so almost in front of the whatever we're calling this existing. Yeah.
I think that's fair. And so should, if we take out mitigate flooding, should I take out fixed boat ramp? Because
It's kind of been decided.
I think, well, the boat ramp's up there also, so what do you
Pardon,
think?
Cheryl? What do you say?
I said, well, the boat ramp is up there at the Army Corps of Engineers also, so.
Yeah, so it feels like, I felt like we should take it out because that's at a whole different level already, right?
okay, so I'll take out,
Maybe we get the boat ramp.
Fix the boat ramp?
take that out.
Because it's already happening.
A little bit.
Correct.
Now, if people get stuck in the mud trying to get around the boat, well, that's not bad.
Right.
Should you say that someplace so people don't fill that in 100 times? Like we're already pursuing fixing the boat ramp and mitigating flooding in the parking lot. However, what about these other improvements or something? Just because I think you're going to get a million write-ins. Fix the boat ramp, fix the parking lot. I don't know, just throwing it out there.
Okay.
And I have a thought on Cheryl's comments about just, so when I look at the survey, I think it does more than just asking people about what's already there. I think the survey is also purposed with trying to suss out what people may want that they may not currently have. So I think, I agree with you, Cheryl, that we probably don't want to get into the weeds of things on the survey, but I think we should at least throw out a couple of ideas of things that people may be very passionate about that is not currently there. Even if it's very high level, just to understand that if there is such a want or need for that beach, just because something's not there doesn't mean people don't want it.
Right,
And
but we do give people the opportunity to write in. Please provide additional comments, ideas on how we could better maintain and enhance our beach and facilities. And do you have any further comments about park and rec facilities? I think take out programs in the town of Darien because programs don't have anything to do with.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think instead of saying like the whole, sorry.
I think I can understand where you're coming from. And I'm not disagreeing with you. I think we need to reword the last question. I think we need to say, I'll have to work on this.
Which-
You
Yeah, I
know,
agree that we may not need to get into the whole like 2-floor, you know, people will be like, well, why? You know, this is why I'm thinking if I'm reading this, then people who don't know about the FEMA regulation would now need to be explained the FEMA regulation. But
that's that's just a whole big, I think, once the building committee gets back online, which I hope won't be too long, all that will come back out again.
mhm.
All of that will be out there. This to me, and please, somebody else correct me if I'm wrong, this to me is just to flush out, because the community was so vocal on so many different things. And I don't think that you were here 2 years ago when we were going through all this. Well, it was a mishmash. Anyway, it's just that this, to me, and to be on this committee, was to figure out whether or not we need a snack bar or concession stand, whether or not we need bathrooms open 6 months a year or 2 weeks a year, and how we can better make Pear Tree a better place. Sitting there and listening to people for years saying, look how nice Weed looks. Look how nice Weed looks. Weed has a beautiful bathhouse. Weed has this, Weed has that. You know, well, Weed is a bigger beach, and Pear Tree doesn't need a big playground and a great big bathhouse and what they have at Weed. We need to figure out what the residents of Darien want. Do you want a snack bar? Do you not want a snack bar? And I think we've flushed out a lot of those questions tonight on this survey. And I think if Kara rewrites it and sends it back out to us, we can look at it again and come up. But I think the last 2 questions are pretty much open-ended for the residents of this town to give us whatever feedback isn't on here. And I'm
okay with getting rid of. I'm okay with getting rid of 27 if that just, you know, kind of gets too much into the weeds. But I think then at least for 29, whether we're asking people how interested they are, or if we're asking people to sort of rank, you know, especially if we're concerned about cost and some of the financial limitations, I feel that we should at least highlight that as an option, maybe calling it a gathering space, or you know, just like a purpose for the beach that may not be obvious to people right now.
Okay.
Because I think there is that one. So we probably want to understand how much that.
Sorry, I'm sorry. When you're saying a gathering space, are you talking about an enclosed or an indoor space or an outdoor space?
So that's why I actually like that open air. One of the options I think was like an open air deck, but you know, maybe we could call it like a gathering space, either open air or enclosed, you know, so we can use it in the winter time. But I think that should be highlighted as at least an option for this survey. Just
Okay.
so by the time the committee.
Oh, sorry, Janet.
That's okay.
I just wanted to add that I absolutely agree with Janet. We spent so much time on this design, and I do think there are many people that absolutely look at that type of design as something to use year round. And I think that we need to use this community survey as a tool to get the feedback from the community. I don't think we can ignore that. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, okay, so this is what I would suggest. I think we've gotten a great turn of this done tonight, and we're already past when we were supposed to end. So what I would suggest is let me incorporate the feedback that we've all shared tonight, and let me turn this around one more time. In our next meeting, we can go through it again, and especially for the last 4 questions, everybody can think about them some more, and I will do my best to incorporate the feedback that we've that everybody shared tonight. So thank you. Is that okay to stop on the survey, everybody?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, excellent. So I think we're supposed to end at 8. So what I would propose is that we push the other 2 items for our next meeting, which is March 2nd. And on March 2nd, our agenda then I would propose would be a turn of the survey, talk about the operational plan behind the survey. And then I do want to just touch on.
Can you define operational plan of the survey so everyone knows what you're talking about?
So that's the guts, who we want to reach, how we're going to reach them. What tool are we going to use? Do we use an outside vendor? What, the nitty gritty of data hygiene, all the things, who's doing the analysis and the segmentation. And I think for that conversation, if I put something on paper, we can have a more effective conversation. Would be, so next meeting will be turn of the survey, operational plan, and then the agenda items from tonight that we didn't get to. So if there aren't any other comments, can I make a motion to adjourn our meeting?
So moved.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
you.
Nice to see
Bye,
you.
guys.
Bye.
Night.